How do you see this as sort of separate from other horror films?
I think a lot of the genre do deal with really effectively. They tell the story of ghosts and they deliver the moments and the fright moments. I think what was important for us making this is not just to establish that there are ghosts and now we're going to frighten you with them and that's going to be the film, but actually address a bit of the why we see them rather than just that we do see them. So informing the whole film with this sense of grief and post-World War loss and the emptiness that created in that, gaps into which the ghosts can step. That was the sort of the unique selling proposition for us. That's why when we chanced on that, I thought, now I know how we can make the film and what the film can be about, as well as being the scares.
Florence is a very strong female character, and those are rare to find. So I wonder, how did you come by this role?
I think it's great that when you come across a script that has a strong, intelligent woman at its centre, but that in itself is not really enough to convince someone that, I mean, it's important that those kind of women are portrayed, but it's actually a fairly flat, uninteresting thing to play, someone who's strong and intelligent. It's only interesting if their strength is hiding some kind of vulnerability inside, or they have a turnaround, or they get their whole value system knocked on its head.
There's a strength and intelligence about the part for Florence, and I wanted this sort of rather equine feeling where there is intelligence and strength and power, but also skittishness and fragility that horses can have. And I thought actually somebody of Rebecca's abilities, evident from all the parts we've seen her, in the smaller parts we've seen her in the movies and the big parts in telly, I thought she could nail that. She could actually get that duality.
She's also a very modern woman. Did that make it easier to relate to her in some ways, as well as the sort of vulnerabilities that are beneath the surface?
Well, the fact that she was modern was a choice, really. I mean, certainly Nick Murphy, who wrote the draft that we shot, wanted to sort of throw out the window any sense of period. He wanted the period to be the period that it was, but he didn't want the central character to feel like she was of that time.
I did want a central character that was not just a woman running around screaming. I mean, I think that worked for the Hammer House of Horror days, but the audiences today want something more sophisticated, and I was keen that the film would appeal as much to women as men, and certainly the feedback I'm getting, women are really responding to the film. And the central character being strong it is essential that you're going to have a character that is a skeptic and a skeptic in the supernatural, and then you're going to unpeel that away.
Is the chemistry, like particularly with you and Dominic West, because everything's very sort of repressed and contained?
Yeah.
Are you always sort of trepidatious about, or is the chemistry going to be there? Do you have to work on it?
You don't work on chemistry. It's sort of a disaster, because then you just look like you're self-conscious and you're trying to play attraction. It's either there or it isn't. I think you just have to be true to the character and what's happening in the story, and the chemistry happens or it doesn't. Did you have time sort of to rehearse beforehand, or were you just kind of thrown together? No, we had a bit of rehearsal time. We had about a week of sitting around and talking about it, and I've known Dominic for a while, so that helped. So it was sort of easy, really. We laugh a lot together, and that helps. I think you've got to, it helps if you have a connection with an actor.
I wanted a real man to play the part, and there are plenty of actors who aren't real men, and Dominic is, and I think he had to be, Mallory had to be, in order to be the equal of Florence. I couldn't pair my lovely Florence at the end of the film up with a wuss. It needed to be a real man.
And you're working in this great, sort of very imposing building. Did that sort of instantly breed this weird, creepy feeling that kind of came through in your performance? Or?
No, sadly not. The truth is, there were about 4 creepy buildings that were made to look like one, and none of them were haunted. And I went out of my way to make up some story or find some story, or walk down dark corridors and open doors that were out of bounds in the hope that I might find something spooky, and nothing. Once I opened a cupboard and found our director of photography, Eddie Grau, standing in there screaming boo at me. That was pretty scary, but it wasn't necessarily supernatural.